Hello everybody, thank you for your time. This is a short presentation which gives you an overview of the interactive questionnaire which we have developed for capturing visual effects or disturbances after an IOL implant. What are visual effects? Optical effects which are characterized by visually perceived images that differ from objective reality from a variety of phenomena which includes physical effects such as the interaction of light with the optics of the human eye, can create images that are different from the objects that actually make them. So an unintended visual effect is a flaw in an image forming system and which causes a deviation from a perfect image. Below is an illustration of such an image. You have an input which goes through a perfect image forming system, which means the light from that input is going through a perfect image forming system and results in an output. If the image forming system introduces some visual effects, then the output differs from the input. In this case, you have a clear halo around the light sources. In this case, a pedestrian walking on a street with car with headlights approaching him. And these halos are unintended visual effects. In the recent European Society for Cataract and Refractive Surgery meeting in Barcelona, we saw that there were a lot of presentations on tools for assessing visual effects or photic phenomena. There's a lot of discussion on it. And going forward, with all the optical qualities, characteristics of lenses being the same, the biggest difference is going to be in visual effects caused by these lenses in the human eye. So this tool will enable us to characterize the auto multifocal in our clinical study and thereby give us some feedback for improving these lens designs so that we can reduce the impact of these visual effects in a human eye after the implant. So in this tool for assessing photic phenomena, or any tool for that matter, instructions are given to patients emphasizing them to recall the visual effects they encounter with respect to without glasses or other means of correction. All the symptoms are evaluated for frequency and severity. In this tool, the big difference is we have sliders instead of characterizing them through just 3 or 4 buckets. The photos have been generated by us and therefore there is no copyright issue. So what does assessment of photic phenomena entail? In general, all the questionnaire based photic phenomena assessing tools look for frequency and severity. Frequency is from two scales. Frequency is from 0 to 3, graded in from 0 to 3, and severity again graded from 0 to 3. And we think that in this tool, by capturing the magnitude of the effect, we combine the effects of frequency and severity into one. The image representation itself is in a 0 to 10 sliding scale. 6 phenomena: glare, halo, hazy or foggy vision, blurred vision, double vision, and dysphotopsia are addressed using this tool. The idea is to implement this on laptops. The laptops will be set up in the clinical sites where the multifocal clinical study will be going on. The subject, let's say, walks in after for a 3-month follow-up. The clinical administrator then opens up this application, which you see on the left, and first clicks on Halo. So this interface opens up. The clinical administrator then puts in the date of exam. So let's say November 12, 2015, and then keys in the subject's unique identifier. In this case, I'm just putting my name and maybe followed by some medical ID. And here the administrator or the surgeon can put in some patient notes. Let's say that the decentration of the lens is noted during a slit lamp examination. That can be noted here, or any other things which the surgeon thinks is important to be noted for this patient can be noted here, which will help us understand if there is a visual effect. Then the subject is encouraged to recall from their memory the visual effect, and if there is no visual effect, they just leave it or reduce it further down to 0, or keep moving the sliding scale until the halo seen here matches the real world experience. As soon as it matches the real world experience, then the patients are encouraged to stop there, and the clinical administrator clicks on Save Data. The data is then saved onto a folder where this data can be used for, when the data can be used for analysis after the clinical study is over. So this has got the name of the visual effect, the date of exam, and the subject ID, and then the image is captured here along with the score on the sliding scale. Next, the administrator clicks on glare. Here the position of the glare source can also be changed by the patient, by the subject. It could be a daytime outdoor scenario or a nighttime outdoor scenario. Let's say that the patient is experiencing a lot of glare when they look at the sky, blue sky. Then the patient moves the glare source, this plus sign, to that location and changes the glare level until that is representative of what the patient is observing. Again, Save Data captures all this information. Similarly with hazy vision, where the overall contrast is reduced, date of exam and the subject unique identifier input here, and then by changing this slider here, the overall contrast of the image can be brought down. Blurred vision, again by moving the slider, the amount of blur on the image can be changed. Again, like previous ones, as soon as the subject comes to a point where he or she thinks that this is the kind of blur they are observing, they stop there, and then the clinical administrator saves the data. Double vision is one where instead of blur, the images are still crisp, but you see two crisp images displaced, either in the x direction only, y direction only, or in both x and y direction. And finally, dysphotopsia, where the radius of the arc is first set up, and as soon as the radius of the arc is set up, the subject then can change the position of the arc. It could be positive dysphotopsia or negative dysphotopsia. Negative dysphotopsia is one that are dark bands running on the visual field. Again, saving the data helps us to analyze these images after the clinical study. So in summary, the current questionnaire such as the VF14 QOL is unable to differentiate visual effects, and we think interactive questionnaires like these will help us to differentiate the visual effects. And since we are not able to differentiate visual effects, it's been difficult for the manufacturers and the R&D team in the lens manufacturing companies to generate useful information to improve lens designs. The objective of this tool is to be able to differentiate visual effects for optimal IOL design. And once the clinical data is obtained, especially with the Aura multifocal, using this clinical data and this tool from this tool and the biometry measurements and other measurements, clinical assessments which have been done on these patients preoperatively and postoperatively, we hope to model it to assist surgeons in optimal IOL patient match and thereby reduce the incidence of visual effects after surgery. Thank you very much.